Hey, Robyn Openshaw here. I'm the green smoothie girl online, but lately, the last 4 years, I've been really talking about Bitcoin a lot. And I wanted to tell you that last night in our Wednesday night mastermind that I've been running for 4 years, I predicted, which is pretty bold, that we may not meet again until Bitcoin has crossed over into being worth six figures and possibly never comes back down again. Now, the caveat is that we are in some of the most uncertain financial times of our whole lifetimes. And in fact, I believe that we are living through the black swan event of our decade, if not our lifetimes, maybe even of this century, in that Liberation Day was April 2nd, and every financial analyst is talking about it. And it's pretty much a misnomer because it's when Donald Trump imposed tariffs on the whole world. And at one point was up to, I think, 245% on China. And China won't blink. So widely being said that Trump is losing the tariff war. So there's a ton of uncertainty in the markets. And we saw markets tank. And usually when the stock market goes down, people run to safety in the bond market, but the bond market was down too. So what do we have to say about Bitcoin in all of this uncertainty? Well, at the same time that all of this is going on, we have seen Michael Saylor since 2020. He started buying Bitcoin about 4 or 5 months after I did. I started in March of 2020. I started buying when Bitcoin was $8,000. He started buying it up partly out of desperation, realizing that the government was going to just start printing and debasing money even more. And he was like, my company's either going to die slowly or quickly. So he started buying Bitcoin. Well, eventually, he seems to have come to the decision to pivot his entire business model and become a Bitcoin holding company. So he now owns something like a few percentage points of the total Bitcoin in the world. And he seems to be on his way to becoming a Bitcoin bank. Well, in the last week, since the last time I made a video for you, two other competitors have come in. First of all, a company that's calling itself 21, which of course is named after the fact that there's 21 million maximum Bitcoin. Nobody can make it more. And that's the real beauty of Bitcoin. And if that's a news flash to you, then I'm so glad that you woke up to this realization because it's why so many of your smart friends are into Bitcoin, even though retail wise, in terms of regular people all over the world, we're really lagging behind the institutions and the governments. And my concern is that institutions, banks, governments are going to be piling into Bitcoin, control 90% of it. And the rest of us plebes, the 8 billion people of the world, are only going to have a small percentage of it, where right now we have the opportunity to front end run all these institutions and banks. So some of the things that have happened in the last week since I last made a video is the state of Arizona passed a law that they have a Bitcoin reserve fund, just like the US did. Probably by my next video, Florida will have, Texas will have, Florida's legislative session ends tomorrow, but that is a bill that's on the table. But even more importantly, a big competitor to Michael Saylor's company, MicroStrategy, actually renamed to just Strategy, has come in, and it's a three-way partnership of Tether, one of the richest companies in the world. Okay, the major stable coin issuer. If you don't know what stable coins are, super important topic. For another day, if you ask me if you want some content on stable coins. So Tether is partnering with SoftBank, which is a huge Japanese company, is partnering with Cantor Fitzgerald, which is a major financial institution here in the US, whose CEO is our Commerce Secretary in the federal government. So this huge powerhouse partnership of three companies is coming in and saying, we're doing what Michael Saylor's doing, only we're not a failing software company. This is our whole mission. Now, Cantor Fitzgerald is in the process, probably for financial backing, not that Tether needs it, but so that they can buy billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin and fast so that it can become an asset that grows in value and they can lend in dollars against it. Because it's basically the smartest play of our lifetime to own Bitcoin that is increasing in value, an average of over 50% a year in its 16-year history, and then borrow in dollars against it. So one of the smartest things that I think people can do is own Bitcoin to be able to borrow against it in dollars. And companies like this new 21 are going to make that possible. Now they're in an arms race with Michael Saylor, but the fun doesn't stop there. Some of you know who Grant Cardone is. He's the real estate mogul. You've probably seen his ads on YouTube where he's walking around talking about how many billions of dollars worth of real estate he owns. And he sells a course on how you too can own hundreds of apartment complexes and hardly put any money down, and probably did very well before 2020, but I don't think that's a super wise play right now. Well, he has a twin. They're both really good looking guys. They're both in their early 60s, and both of them are billionaires. So you got Grant Cardone, the real estate mogul, and then you've got Gary Cardone, who says 85% of his billions of dollars of wealth are now tied up in Bitcoin. He has come in and said he's starting a company and starting with $5 billion in Bitcoin. So I'm going to wrap it up today by pointing out that these two new companies, all by themselves, in addition to Michael Saylor buying as much Bitcoin as he possibly can, he's totally hollowed out his company. And this is his new strategy to just acquire as much Bitcoin as he possibly can. The three of them alone, forget about all the countries and the states that are piling into Bitcoin, and gamification says everybody's eventually going to pile into Bitcoin, whether they wanted to or not. Those three companies are just the amounts that they say they're going to buy is more than is going to be available on the open market and more than is being mined. So what does that mean for price? Okay, even if you went to a year of college and all you had was Econ 110, you know the law of supply and demand. When the demand exceeds the supply, what happens to the price? So I just want to point out that this may be my last video where you can get Bitcoin under $100,000. It's already been up to 109,000. It briefly was up in the six-figure range. We think it's going to go there. It's going to go past there. It's going to rip past there. And barring some spectacular black swan event, which my argument is we're already in one with the tariffs and we're living through it, and we're going to mark time by Liberation Day, April 2nd. Trump's kind of trying to backtrack as he realizes he lost the tariff wars. He's doing carve outs for things like semiconductors and I think like motherboards kind of things. But we're we're in a black swan event and Bitcoin has done really, really well. So that should give you a data point of how well Bitcoin has done in a very difficult financial time for the United States and for the whole world. So remember, Bitcoin is an asset that serves the whole world. Third world countries, the retail investors are investing at a higher rate than we are because Americans are mostly asleep at the wheel. We've enjoyed such a fantastic quality of life. We just take our economy for granted. We don't realize that we don't actually make stuff anymore, and we're highly dependent on Amazon. It should be a wake-up call to us that we just basically started a massive trade war with China, and 71% of what is sold on Amazon is made of parts from China or is made in China. So I hope this was useful to you. I don't give financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Please see that as my disclaimer. But I will say that I think the wrong number is zero. Okay, having no exposure to Bitcoin is the wrong number. I have friends who are piling in, even though retail interest in Bitcoin is low right now. I think it's because most consumers are so strapped. 2/3 of America can't handle a $400 emergency. So it's really too bad that we didn't get more people into Bitcoin earlier. But now it's becoming so mainstream. Look up Triffin's Dilemma for how, people who have been studying Bitcoin have been over here and have been looked at as fringe, but it's moved that Overton window to where it's far, far, far more mainstream. So people aren't really arguing anymore that the government's going to ban Bitcoin. Our government is actively investing in Bitcoin. That changes everything. And I'll see you next time. Please join our mastermind. We meet every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. You're going to learn at a much higher speed, and we're going to answer your questions because we've got to bring you up to speed, because you're not going to invest in a serious way in the best asset of your lifetime until you understand it. So the learning has to come first. Sure, maybe you start dollar cost averaging and spending $100 a month out of your paycheck to start buying Bitcoin. That will be a good motivator for you to start learning. That's what I've found, is that when people start investing, they start getting more serious about their learning journey. So with that, I hope you join us on Wednesday nights. Look down below for a third month free in the mastermind, and also use my personal coupon code Robyn, all caps. My name is spelled with a Y, Robyn. So I'll see you on Wednesday night. Bye, everyone.